going on, people? So I was thinking about my transportation situation, and I'm always trying to evaluate that because while I would like a car, cars are contributing to global warming and other stuff, so I'm trying to be responsible, and at the same time as being responsible, I also have to consider how I can get places. So I've been thinking about that, and I finally pulled the trigger on getting something, and I'm going to be waiting, probably for a lot longer than I want to wait. Probably gonna miss this nice summer stuff, you know, this summer season. So it's gonna be a drag, but it's gonna be great when I get it. Yeah, but anyway, I want to talk to you guys today about the consulting industry as a whole. Right now, the industry is going through what some are calling a golden era. A lot of firms that are all benefiting from this work. So, you know, the wealth is being spread, so to speak. And there's a lot of opportunities for people like you and me to, you know, get into the consulting industry, break in, you know, somewhere where they thought it would be really hard to, and really thrive. We're gonna go over how much boom there really is. There's Joe yelling. I love it.
Bo, 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 Bo!
Bo.
Let's have a little snack.
So I wanted to take some time today to kind of build on that idea that I talked about a little bit earlier, about how some people are calling right now, today, the golden era of consulting. Now, I'm gonna bring out some facts because that's the best way to prove it. Actually, no, not facts. People sometimes don't believe facts, like the world is round. Don't get that. But numbers almost always never lie. See what I did there? Because you can manipulate numbers if you know how to do it. Really easy. And it's not necessarily lying, it's more like omitting, but that's different. So anyway, why is now considered the golden era of consulting? Well, let me talk to you about it, because there's a bunch of articles on it, and nobody seems to really be taking notice of it, right? And it's so strange because these firms, the big four, I mean, and then outside of the big four too, like even BCG, right? You know, they're hiring a lot of people as well. So there's a lot of opportunity for you out there if you want to go get it. And given the great resignation that's just occurred, right? A lot of people are trying to look for that flexibility. Well, a lot of people know the jet set life that comes with being a consultant, right? Well, there's other options to be a consultant as well. You don't have to be on the jet set life, right? You could just be chilling at home on the remote life. A lot of things right now are going your way. So with the great resignation, tons of people with great applicable skills looking for new jobs. The consulting industry is exactly what you want and should be looking at. So do it for you. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family. Do it for whatever reason you want to come up with, but do it. Just do it. Okay, so to put in perspective why this could be considered the golden era, right? Let's look at the numbers. For two of the big four, Ernst & Young and Deloitte, we have seen record revenues. Now think about that. A lot of firms right now in the pandemic have been struggling, but then there are firms like Amazon, Walmart, that are just making more and more and more money. And the professional services firms are actually no different. The reason that their revenues are skyrocketing are holistically different compared to what Amazon's doing and how they're generating their record revenues now. E&Y, they had revenues this past fiscal year, which ended June 30th, of $39.96 billion. That's an increase of 7.3% over the past year. That's a lot. Like, put that in perspective. That's B's, baby. And Deloitte, the biggest and baddest of them all, saw their revenues rise to 50.2 billion. That's up 5.5%, right? Measly 5.5%, but like 50 billion. Now, let's take one more dive down the rabbit hole. How does the number break out across their individual businesses? Because as you know, professional firms have multiple areas of expertise, right, that generate money. Now, for the consulting area in each of these firms, for E&Y, consulting contributed $11.14 billion, which is up 6.4%. Deloitte, on the other hand, saw their consulting share grow by 5.1%, or what equates to 20.8 billion of their revenue. But what is generating the professional services boom? Well, given the pandemic last year, right? The pandemic itself. What happened is a lot of firms realized that their on-prem local solutions were ancient, archaic almost. And they had never given any thought to it. They had been told by their IT people that, listen, we should be updating progressively, one step at a time so that we don't have to do this all at once and then, have a lot of issues. And like always, the big honchos, they ignore the tech people because they think, listen to me, get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not a business person. You clearly don't understand needs and wants and everything else. Well, guess what? Here we are. And professional services firms have stepped in to take on these challenges by these firms, which is every firm that had to send people home to do remote work. Almost all of those firms were operating with some form of on-prem localized solution. And a lot of the major firms still do it today because they just can't get past those old systems. Because one, they don't want to commit to paying all that money for, what's basically going to be a long-term project. Two, they probably don't have the expertise in-house to do that conversion. So they have to go out of house to get it, which is going to cost a pretty penny on top of the entire cost of, getting the cloud set up for you and, operating in the cloud. And three, I can't think of three. Come back to me later for three. Yeah, so there's obviously a huge need in the market to service these companies to help them get up with the times, and bringing them into the future. And basically what's thrown around a lot of times in IT talk, right, is future-proof their systems for the future, right? You want to make sure that the work you're putting in now and all the costs that's going into this, which again is really high, but once you're in pretty much. And there's just like minor little tweaks here and there. I say minor, but that could be a lot too. And a lot of firms now, on top of making the huge commitment to converting over to the cloud route, right, we're also looking at applying machine learning and artificial intelligence, because they figure if I'm going to do one thing I really don't want to do in doing a complete overhaul of my tech setup, I might as well do the AI ML stuff that's really expensive too, and is basically using the same set of skills that the people I have doing my cloud work are using. So why not do two birds, one stone, So that's what they're doing. So not only are you getting a lot of like IT work and IT projects to convert these things, but you're also getting people like me, scientists and AI people to come in and do a lot of work. And what's funny is that some of these firms, they know exactly what they want. They know they want to do this, 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 and that, right? They have a little bit of education. They've read a little bit about the subject. They've read some of the literature that comes out, of any of the places, and they know what they want to do. Then there's everybody else. That's what I found so far. I haven't really found a middle ground. There's the people that read and they hear all the buzzwords and they're like, blah, 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 blah. Like, I want to do a random forest. I want to do this. I want to use some kind of like decision tree, which is just a random forest, again, smaller. And they have no reason. You ask them, why do you want to do this? They say like, because I heard about it, or, like it works for, them, so it must work for us, right? That's not how this works. It shouldn't be, and it's not how I work. We come in and we try to assess the situation because each situation could be unique, right? What model works for some other like data set isn't necessarily going to work for here. I mean, we try to tune hyperparameters for those type of things, but it's not always foolproof. So you're having those people come in too, and they want to get that. And IT plus machine learning and AI equals a lot of money, a lot of projects, a lot of long-term projects, and that's what's driving this. The professional services hiring of talent, especially in AI and cybersecurity, two of the biggest sectors right now on the market. So let's dig into it. These big four firms are committing a huge amount of resources knowing that these fields are only going to get more and more competitive in terms of the talent that's around. So getting back to PwC, $12 billion over the next 5 years. And that's not even to mention the amount of money that they've already committed over the last 3 years in uptraining their current employees, because they recognize that just because you work in finance doesn't mean that you shouldn't have some level of coding skills, so that maybe you can go query the data if you want directly and you don't have to wait for somebody. Now I know you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, so the big four, they made more money, big whoop, whatever. Like, doesn't affect me, right? But it does. Now, how does it affect you? Now, again, remember, I just talked about how all these firms are trying to do these huge overhaul projects, right? Now, if you've got the tech skills, this is where it matters to you, right? And even if you don't have the tech skills, you can go learn some very quickly on any one of those learning sites, right? Like edX, Udemy, Udacity, DataCamp. I could go on. There's a lot of opportunities for you to go learn these skills if you don't have them. Pick them up and then get into this field, because now is the time. There's just so many opportunities. They're going to be more and more vital to our everyday lives, as if they weren't already paramount to our lives today.